Herman Moll was on the horns of a dilemma. Can you figure out how he kept from getting gored? Here's the backstory. The year is 1714. Our man is Herman Moll, the most eminent cartographer in all of Britain. He's about to publish his magnum opus, an atlas of the world with the biggest, most beautiful, and hopefully the most accurate maps ever. Just look at this map of Italy. I have this one in my collection, framed above my desk, and it looks even better at full scale. Imagine 30 maps like this, covering every part of the world. What could go wrong? The timing was ideal. The War of the Spanish Succession had just ended. That enormous war, with France on one side, Britain, the Holy Roman Empire, Prussia, and the Dutch on the other, left 1 million soldiers dead and, figuratively speaking, rewrote the map of Europe. Literally speaking, it was Moll that was rewriting the maps. By the way, if you are new to the Eye of History, this is what we do on this channel. We study the old maps in my collection and unearth the history behind them. If you like nerdy history channels that touch on a lot of unique topics, then hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, then thank you. It was all going so perfectly. At this point, Moll is down to the last details, the decorative elements, like the cartouches. Cartouches were important. Someone browsing at the bookstore, looking to buy an atlas, had no way to judge the actual accuracy of the maps, but they could judge the cartouche, the detail and the precision of its engraving. So Moll always put his best efforts into making the most ornate and elegant cartouches possible. That usually included a dedication to some popular political figure. It was an excuse to etch a coat of arms, always an elegant feature, and it sometimes led to an explicit endorsement, great for business, or sometimes even a patent to deter plagiarists, even better for business. And who should Moll honor with this dedication? One name above all stood out, the hero of the war, the greatest general in British history since, well, ever. John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough. It was a no-brainer. It's like a cigar maker honoring Winston Churchill. Herman Moll had chosen the perfect man. Marlborough wasn't just the general that saved Vienna and the Allies at the Battle of Blenheim through brilliant strategic maneuvering. That victory was legendary. It shattered the French aura of invincibility. In fact, the French marshal was captured, and he spent the rest of the war in Nottingham. After that, Marlborough became part of a triumvirate that ran half of Europe. Him, the equally brilliant General Prince Eugene of Savoy, and the Dutch politician Anthony Heinsius, who fought the diplomatic war while his two partners fought on the battlefield. Few times in history have three such talented men emerged in one place and time, and even more rarely have such men pooled their talents so selflessly and effectively. Marlborough became as much a hero on the continent as he was at home. He was also a hero to his men. He was obsessed with their welfare, down to the details, and the men responded with a nickname for him, Corporal John. He paid close attention to logistics, making sure that his men were well fed, clothed, and shod, and avoided the bane of the foot soldier in every era, the siege. After Blenheim came victories at Landau, Trier, and Trarbach. Recognizing his talent, the Holy Roman Emperor offered to make Marlborough a prince in his empire. After his victory at Ramillies, the British outbid the empire, granting Marlborough his titles in perpetuity. But the war was far from over. Soon the Swedes threatened to join on France's side. Ghent and Bruges defected to the French. But Marlborough's partnership with Prince Eugene would compensate for these diplomatic defeats. The two generals punished Ghent and Bruges for their defection, kicked the French out of the Low Countries, and captured Lille as well. The two generals were unbeatable together. And, amazingly, there was no hint of rivalry between the two. Neither worried about the credit, and in battle both took difficult chances at times to support the other. They were very different in character. Marlborough was methodical, detail-oriented. Prince Eugene was aggressive, often impatient. Marlborough was an earnest family man who fought to build a legacy for his heirs. Prince Eugene cared little for fortune or legacy, and fought his enemies simply because they were his enemies. Though opposite in so many ways, they were similar in these. They were both courageous, loyal, honest, and possessed self-control. and they both understood grand strategy. They kept the ultimate objectives always in view and directed all their efforts towards achieving them. Marlborough was popular with his troops. He was popular with his allies. He was popular with every Englishman who preferred victory in war over defeat. Herman Moll knew exactly who belonged in his cartouche. So imagine Herman Moll's surprise when he made his routine trip to the coffee shop. This coffee shop isn't any ordinary coffee shop, of course. It's Jonathan's Coffee House. If you're a student of economic history, you might know Jonathan's as the site of England's first stock exchange. If you're a student of scientific history, you might know it as where Robert Hooke hung out and told everyone who would listen that he knew how gravity worked before Newton did. What made it Herman Moll's preferred cuppa was that it was where Britain's most audacious pirates took their leisure, men like William Dampier and Woodes Roger. Who better for Moll to go to for the latest information on the world's oceans and the most distant lands? But on this particular day, the scuttlebutt in the coffee house wasn't about any of those sorts of pirates. They were swirling about a pirate of a different kind, a plunderer of men's reputations, the dreaded pamphleteer. That pirate with a pen and a press was Jonathan Swift. Long before he wrote Gulliver's Travels, Swift was a political satirist, the favorite tool of the Tory party. He was no friend of Marlborough. While the war was raging, he wrote pamphlets complaining that the Allies weren't winning fast enough. Now he was writing that Marlborough had tried to sabotage the peace and was trying now to make himself general for life. It was bitterly ironic. Near the end of the war, Swift's Tory party had collapsed after it was discovered they were secretly negotiating their own peace with France. Swift had a gift for gaslighting, and it seemed to be working. There is more to this story, much more. Far too much for this little video. Actually, I can't find any video that does more than scratch the surface of this incredible act of national betrayal. Fortunately, the story is told in one of the greatest biographies ever written, and the author, Winston Churchill. Check it out. So Moll had a problem. To put Marlborough in his cartouche would be aligning himself with a saboteur and would-be usurper. But the politics were fluid, and there was a good chance that Marlborough's enemies would fail, and Marlborough would return to the good graces of Parliament and Crown. What, though, to do in the meantime? Let's just see how Moll solved the dilemma. Let's look at this map and zoom in on this lovely cartouche. In fact, to this coat of arms. Is this the Marlborough blazon? No. Nor is it any other British house. The political situation was too fluid for Moll to commit to any nobleman or even royal personage. Moll instead made a more brilliant choice. Whose coat of arms is this? Marlborough's trusted partner on the battlefield, Prince Eugene of Savoy. Who could complain? Prince Eugene, after all, had proven a reliable ally to Britain in the war. There was not a hint of scandal about the prince that was ever heard in London, and other than Marlborough, there was not an Englishman alive who could possibly better claim the honor. And yet, it was a statement of support for Marlborough, too. By endorsing his partner, Moll was endorsing the man himself, but in a way that he could walk back later if he had to. Marlborough survived Swift's accusations. Swift moved to Ireland, began lending his pen to better topics, such as criticizing the abhorrent British policies towards the Irish people. It was in Ireland that he wrote his best work, Gulliver's Travels. And in that book, he gave Herman Moll just a bit of immortality, as Lemuel Gulliver speaks of, quote, his worthy friend, Mr. Herman Moll, who declines to use in his atlas the information Mr. Gulliver provides. It's interesting to me how these stories so often seem to circle around. There are so many fascinating connections, and even the most ordinary features of a map can contain deep and complex stories. I really do recommend that you check out Churchill's biography of Marlborough. It is truly the best kind of history, a deft writer and a fascinating subject. And if you liked this video, let me know in the comments.